Today we're exploring a fascinating paper by Dr. Fatma Gökçe Çiçek Tuğer titled Intermusicality, Theoretical and Methodological Framework. I know, it's a bit of a mouthful, but hang in there because this is a concept that has the power to change how you listen to music and how you understand the connections between songs, traditions, or even whole genres. I want to emphasize right at the start, my job here is to present the paper's ideas neutrally. I'm not endorsing any particular view, just opening the door for you to think, question, and reflect, because that's what makes academic research so special. It's not, ironclad truth. It's an invitation to discuss, to discover, to dig in. So let's get started. What's the core question in this paper? Well, Dr. Çiçek Tuğer is asking, what exactly is intermusicality? And how can we actually identify and analyze the ways music pieces talk to each other across time, styles, and cultures? Why is this important? Because, music isn't made in a vacuum. Songs constantly borrow, reference, respond, and transform older melodies or ideas. It's sort of like a giant ongoing musical conversation. And here's the key. Those connections aren't just aesthetic. They're cultural, historical, even ideological. That means when a composer quotes an old folk tune or parodies a famous symphony, it isn't just clever. There might be a deeper story, a cultural context, a political nod, or maybe just an inside joke for people who are, musically nerdy. The paper highlights that while Western musicology since the 1980s has really explored intermusicality, in Turkish academia the topic is still mostly, theoretical conversation. What Dr. Çiçek Tuğer tries to do is lay out the first truly systematic framework for both understanding and applying intermusicality techniques within Turkey. So, if you're curious about musical analysis, whether you're an amateur, pro, or just a fan, this kind of research can enrich how you notice musical layers and references in everything from classical to jazz to pop to your latest streaming find. Now, how does she tackle this subject? The method is twofold. First, a thorough survey of Western theories. Think names like Julia Kristeva, whose concept of intertextuality in literature morphed into intermusicality for music. And then folks like Gérard Genette, J. Peter Burkholder, and others who mapped how music borrows and transforms old material. The paper then dives into hands-on analysis, looking at actual music scores, picking apart how specific technical moves like quotations, allusions, pastiche, parody, variation, and so on work in real pieces. Let's break down some of these techniques because, honestly, if you've ever thought, wait, haven't I heard that melody before? You're already experiencing intermusicality. So, quotation is when a composer directly lifts a melody or motif. Allusion is a subtler, maybe nearly secret wink to another piece. Parody, that's borrowing with a twist, maybe to poke fun or make a sharp point. Pastiche blends different styles or pays homage, and variation spins old themes into new shapes. There's also contrafactum, which swaps out lyrics on the same tunes. Think old folk melodies that become national anthems. The paper points out that these aren't just technical tricks, each technique has meaning. A quotation might be a nod of respect, a parody might be ironic or critical, a pastiche could be about nostalgia or even cultural negotiation. So when you catch a snippet of Vivaldi inside a Bach concerto or notice a folk song that's somehow ended up as a pop chorus, it's never just random. The act itself is a gesture, a conversation between composers, between cultures, between eras. It gets even deeper. There are musical topoi, or little musical gestures that evoke moods or places, like the alla turca style in Mozart, or a jazz player riffing on gospel licks. The paper also dives into stylistic imitation, when a piece is written to mimic another era or composer, sometimes out of admiration, sometimes, for a bit of playful confusion. And then there's emotional or semantic resonance, where musical choices evoke certain feelings or ideas for an audience that gets it, by the way. One thing that always makes me smile, how pop music, movies, and memes these days are like explosion zones of intermusicality. Sampling, covers, mashups, they're everywhere. makes me wonder if even my ringtone is referencing something that I totally missed. But anyway, so what does all this mean for you, the curious listener? It's an invitation to listen actively. When you spot familiar musical DNA in a piece, ask yourself, is this referencing something? Is it playful, critical, nostalgic, political? What stories are being told between the lines? And remember, these are not final answers. Academic research lays out ways to think, not rules you have to obey. As we wrap up, let me remind you, Dr. Çiçek Tuğer's paper is about tools for understanding. It's about mapping the web that connects music across boundaries. I'm just sharing her findings. I'm not planting a flag for any single interpretation. Use the framework, question it, remix it, see what you hear.